and gentlemen, welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin. This is my co-host Teddy, and today, why we're in nice and close here, nice and personal, is because I'm going to be doing my first smartphone review. So I tried really hard on this, guys, so I do hope you enjoy it. Now, before we jump into it, super quick, if you're not following me on Twitter, go check that out and check out my vessel while you're at it, because I put up some early access stuff there. And if you want to support me, you can check out my Patreon, and then I can keep making these awesome videos for you guys and make them better and better as this channel goes along. Now, let's jump straight into it then with the phone. So we're going to be reviewing the Meizu M2 Note 5.5 inch sort of value for money smartphone. That's the way I would put it. So this thing is definitely built to a price point. It's very cheap here in New Zealand, only coming in at 299 New Zealand dollars over at Playtech. So that's a really good deal. In the US, it's even cheaper, obviously. So that's really good. And in other places in Europe and that. So it's really a incredibly good deal when you think that this is a 5.5 inch smartphone for that price. Now let's jump straight into it then with the specs. So CPU wise, it's coming with a MediaTek octa-core 8-core CPU that's clocked at 1.3 gigahertz. It is 64-bit, so that's quite good. It has quite a snappy performance in the operating system. It feels really nice. It's pretty quick. I had no real worries with it. I didn't see any stuttering. RAM-wise, coming with 2 gigabytes. That should be enough for most people these days. It's starting to trend more towards the 3 gigabyte mark. However, I think 2 gigabytes is still good enough for right now. GPU-wise, is coming with the Mali 64-bit triple-core T720 GPU. Now, this is, I would say, pretty average. It's only about okay. It does very good for your media playback. However, any kind of intense games you might be playing on this phone, it's going to be, it might be a little bit laggy in some of the more difficult ones to play. Now, storage-wise, it's coming in either a 16 gigabyte model or a 32 gigabyte model, but it's no worries because it has expandable storage because it's got a dual SIM, but one of them doubles as a micro SD slot, so that is a really cool thing. And communications-wise, it comes with the whole, laundry list up to my arm, so I'll just put that at the bottom of the screen so you can see all the different communications it has. Now, design. So as soon as I set my eyes on this, it reminded me of one thing. Probably the same thing it reminded you of. The iPhone 5C. So at a glance, most people will just assume it's the 5C. It also comes in a whole bunch of different colors, the same as the 5C did. So that's kind of cool. I think it kind of also looks a bit cheap looking at first glance because people might also associate it with the 5C, which was sort of Apple's cheap phone. So yeah, that's just one thing I kind of noticed straight off the bat. Now, it's very light, coming in at 149 grams only, which is really good. I mean, this phone is, exceptionally light. When you pick it up after, something like an iPhone 5 Plus here, iPhone 6 Plus, I should say, you do, notice a big weight difference between them. Now, that kind of goes two ways for me. There's the lightness, that's nice, easy to hold, but also it doesn't make it feel as premium to me as something a little bit heavier. Now, this thing, you're going to need to have a skin on it or put a case on it or something because it is super duper slippery. It's going to slide, out of your pockets when you're sitting down, unless they're very tight pockets, and it might fall out of your hands as well, especially if you have, quite slippery hands or sweaty hands. So if you're wondering where the back button was, it's actually doubled in the home button. So a little tap will bring you back. If you push it down, it'll bring you to your home screen, and if you hold it down, it will lock the phone. So that was quite a cool implementation. However, no fingerprint reader here. It also has pretty good button placement as well. Just power button on the side, volume rockers on the side. So that's nice and easy, about mid of the way down. So it's going to be good for those out there that have smaller hands than I do. Now let's move on to the display. So it's coming with a 5.5 inch 1080p or Full HD sharp IGZO display, and this thing looks pretty damn good if I'm honest. Has really good color reproduction. I really liked it. I couldn't believe it the first time I was looking at it. I thought this would be a bit more of a budget display, but no, it's excellent. It looked really good. It's coming in with 403 pixels per inch, which is, pretty damn solid. I can't really complain with that. And it's being protected by Gorilla Glass 3, so that's also quite good. The brightness is, it goes pretty bright, and it has a pretty good sort of color temp from the factory. However, this is adjustable, so you can set it up just right. The one sort of little niggly thing with it is that the adaptive brightness can be a little bit off at times, so that would be the one thing I would say is a little bit strange about it, but it's not really that big of an issue. Now, speakers wise, so it has just a single downwards firing speaker, which is super easy to cover, especially if you're using it horizontally. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. Would rather the front facing speakers at the top and the bottom, like a few of them do. That's usually what I like the most. It goes pretty loud, so that's good. However, it has some of the most insane resonance I've ever heard. So it's it just kind of sounds like all your music is in a cave or something like that. You're listening to it in a cave. So that made it a bit average. Now, as far as the voice quality goes when you're on call and stuff like that, it's perfect. It's no worries. And the mic quality is really good as well. The people out there are going to be able to understand you very clearly. Now, software-wise, so it's coming with their Fly Me Skin over Android 5.1. That's quite good. It seems to work pretty nicely. Didn't really notice anything that was too buggy or anything like that, so it seems pretty solid for the most part. I really like the smart gestures coming with. This is really cool. I definitely like double tap to wake, and I like drawing a circle to open up the camera, and that was really cool, so I do like it, and it has enough customization for me personally to be happy. However, the lock screen doesn't display notifications. Wow, what an oversight. It is so annoying for it not to be doing that, to just receive a text or whatever, a message, and go to look at the phone and it won't display it. Oh my goodness, what a letdown. So you guys really need to add that feature. It's a pretty massive thing to leave out, and I was pretty disappointed with that. Now, moving over to the cameras. So it has a 13 megapixel Samsung CMOS rear camera, which is nice. It sits flush against the phone, so that's always nice to see. It does a pretty good job. It's quite nice colors, nice color saturation. I liked that. It does pretty good outside for the most part. You can get some pretty good scenic shots in that. It does a little bit worse inside and in low light conditions, so you might be a bit let down there. I know I kind of was. So that's just something to be aware of. Video-wise, it does a pretty decent job. However, there's no stabilization, so it does come out pretty shaky. So that's another thing to be aware of. The camera app is pretty good to, use for the most part. It's a little bit slow opening, but the shutter speed is pretty fast, so that's good. And as far as the selfie camera goes, it's just a 5 megapixel. It's going to do really well, should get you by for all your selfie pictures and all of that great stuff. Now, battery life. So it's coming with a 3,100 milliamp hour battery, which is about standard for a phone of this size. Is pretty much what you would be expecting. It takes about 2 hours to charge up, which is okay. I mean, there's no quick charging here, but for the price, I can't really say I'm too surprised. It should give you about 4 hours of screen on time. Now, I'm not much of a power user. I'm more of a sort of light to medium user. So it did me about 2 days. However, if you are a power user like my girlfriend is, then it'll probably only do you about a full day. So that should be good enough for most of you guys out there. Which brings us now to the conclusion. So you have to bring price into it, as always, and at the $300 mark in New Zealand, this is a hell of a phone for the money. It definitely ticks the value for money box for me. It has its drawbacks for sure, but they're not really that bad for the most part, and it's still a pretty damn good phone across the board. The speakers are mainly its big downside. The sound quality is just, not really there. But everything else it does pretty good for the most part. So yeah, I do recommend this phone. If you're someone that doesn't have a lot of money to spend, but you just want a decent smartphone that's going to get you by, then hey, look no further. The Meizu M2 Note is going to do you just fine. Now I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already and like the video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.